Hello, I'm Mario DeSanto, and today we are going to do some good old-fashioned tape editing. Before I start this video, I want to mention that I recorded a bulk of this video without any planning or preparation yesterday, and a lot of it is really off the cuff, and I make some mistakes, and it was a great learning experience for me, and hopefully for you guys at home too. Today we are going to demonstrate two separate edits. The first edit is going to be on my Tascam MS-16 over there, utilizing the editing feature built in. And the second edit we'll be doing will be on my Tascam 22-2 over there. And in that method, I'm going to be utilizing a razor blade and some guesswork. I should make it very clear that the point of this video is not necessarily to show how tape editing is done in a professional setting, in a professional studio, with a professional recording engineer. The purpose of this video is for you guys at home to watch this and say, hey, if this dumb kid right here could do it, so can I. And I hope that you will try and experiment yourself. If you are, in fact, looking for a professional video with professionals in it doing professional work, I recommend going over to the YouTube channel for Electric Audio, where they have a video on multitrack editing. And I also recommend going to the channel Biased Audio, where that guy does a stereo mixdown edit session. And both of those videos are fantastic and way better than anything I'm going to show in this video. Before I get into the actual tape splicing in this video, I'm going to do a quick little diagram of the type of editing that I'm going to be doing today. This way you have a visual reference of what I'm trying to accomplish. Because once the tape splicing starts to go on, it's easy to lose track of what piece of tape is which, and especially if you're watching on a video, you're going to be lost pretty quickly. So let's get to a diagram now. For today's demonstration of audio tape, we're going to use this piece of paper I printed out. This diagram is not even close to being in the correct scale of regular audio tape. I have expanded the 1-inch tape to about 5 inches, and instead of the song being about 400 feet of audio tape, it's about 10 inches in length. If you look more closely here, we have the 16 tracks on the 1-inch tape. I've labeled them here. On the song that we'll be working on today, all the tracks are filled except for track number 10. This will be important in a further step. I know for about 99% of the people watching this video, they are used to recording their music on the computer. And on a computer, when you're visually looking at the song layout, the left side of the screen is where the song is starting, and the right side is where it's ending. Well, in the audio realm, it's the opposite of this. Let's take a closer look on a reel-to-reel to explain this a little further. Here we have the supply reel running across the tape heads and going onto the take-up reel. That means the beginning of the song, instead of it being on the left side like we are used to on a computer, it's actually on the right side of the tape. The only reason I am mentioning this is because I know I'm going to get a pedantic comment telling me that I'm not showing it correctly and yada yada yada. For the purposes of simplicity in this video, we're going to assume this is the start of the song and this is the end of the song. This is the layout of the song we'll be working on today. Over here we have the main part of the song that I'll be calling section A. This is separated with some tracking tape with section B of the song. The goal of today is to find our splice point on section A, cut it open, then we're going to find the part in section B where we want to insert into that splice point. So let's just say we're going to make a splice here on the tape, and a splice here. We will then take this part and splice it in with some tape. Some tape. The reason the splice today is a little peculiar is because usually when you're making a multi-track recording splice like this, you are splicing in a piece of tape that has the same instrumentations on both sections. That means the volume, the EQ, the panning on your mixing board is going to affect all these tracks just as equally as this section. For today, I didn't want that. I wanted you to hear section B how I wanted it mixed. I didn't want the track 1 to be subject to the same volume and EQ and pan restraints of this track 1. So I mixed down all of these tracks onto track number 10, and I'm going to erase these tracks. This way, when this splice point is reached, we're only going to be hearing track number 10, which we could set our own settings to because there's no recorded material on track 10 on section A. Simple enough. Once we have completed this splicing of this song from start to finish, we are going to mix it down onto some 2-track half-inch tape. Once the song is onto the master tape, we are going to be taking a small snippet of the sound of a needle dropping onto a 45 record. We're going to cut that out. We're going to take that section of the needle dropping sample and splice it at the beginning of our song, like so. When we do this on actual tape, we're going to have to be a lot more careful. Alright folks, this is where boys become men. I am quite nervous as I've never actually done an edit on this machine. I have cut tape on this machine, but it was just to put in this transparent tracking tape. I forget the correct terminology for that. So yeah, I'm a little nervous. This is a learning experience for all of us here. So I got the tape queued up to the, I'll call it section B, where I'm going to cut out that section B and splice it in to section A. So right now we're looking at section B. I have my handy dandy razor blade. I got some tape. And I got a pencil to mark. Now, on a 3-head machine like this, it's very important that we pay attention to what head we are monitoring from. Right now, this machine is in the reproduce head, so that is this head. So all of our editing has to be based on this head and not the recording head. Because if we are monitoring from, let's just say, the reproduce head, and we're cutting from the record head, we're going to have this length of discrepancy on the tape, and the splice is not going to be where we wanted it, okay? Should be simple enough to follow. So, I'm going to play the section B right now, just so we can hear it. The part I want to make the first splice point at is right when the snare drums start of the bugle call, and there's about maybe a quarter or a half a second before that snare drum starts where there's like this weird bird sounds going on. So I have to find that specific spot. So let's do that. So about right there is where the snare drum is hitting. So let's go into edit mode and try to find that precise point so I can make the splice. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Right there. I'm going to do it just a hair before the snare drum hits. Right there. So about right there, I'm going to make the cut. Like I said, this splice in particular doesn't have to be perfect. It's a really weird song. I'm splicing in this weird like interlude part that isn't an instrumentation section. It's like weird sound effects. So it doesn't have to be crucial. I'm going to cut it right there. So I'm going to mark it with the, what is this called? The grease pen here, China marker. All right. All right, so I'm going to put up the guard here so we don't damage the heads. Kind of unnecessary, but nice little feature. I have the tape in the splice block. Now, I could do 3 different cuts here. And let me show you a little better. We have the 90-degree cut, and slightly less than 90 degrees, and even more, slightly less than 90 degrees. For this cut, I am going to do a straight cut. You would usually do a slanted cut if you were doing a musical section that you wanted a more smooth cut point in, and it doesn't sound so, I don't know if metallic's the right word, but, you want it to blend in more. In this case, like I said, I actually kind of want it to sound like something was spliced in there, and the straight cut will do us just fine. So let's do so. All right, we have cut the tape here. Now, it's important to mentally remember what side of the tape you're working with here. So what I mean by that is this is the point at which the snare drum starts, and the rest of this section is in the supply reel. So just for a little reminder here, I'm going to put a really bad drawn arrow, just so when I put this piece of tape to the side later, I don't get messed up and put it on reversed and it don't sound no good. Alright, so let's find the other part, or the end of the section rather. So I'm just gonna put this back on the reel. So this end splice point is going to be a little easier to find because it goes, when I was mixing it, I did a hard cut, as you'll hear. Right there. So right when that noise ends, I'm going to make that cut. So let's find it. Right there. I am actually going to cut it slightly before it ends just because I want it to be a hard cut in the final mix. So that should be fine. I'll mark it just for camera purposes. Take it out of edit mode so I don't make that mistake again. Alright. We're going to do another 90-degree cut. You can't tell on camera, but my heart is beating like crazy because I don't want to lose or mess up, rather, this song. Well, I kind of just realized I screwed up, and I'm going to have to explain. Hopefully I'll explain in the earlier part of this video how I screwed up, but I can't believe I screwed up, and we're going to have to do a little bit of head scratching to make this work now. Let me explain how I made a mistake here. Before I made this splice, I forgot to erase these tracks. I'm unable to erase these tracks now because the chances of me overdubbing exactly on these splice points for all of these tracks is near impossible, which means I'm going to affect section A of the song. I think what I'm going to wind up doing is just taping everything back the way it was, erasing the tracks like I should have in the first place, and basically moving on from there. Once again, I'm kind of embarrassed I made this mistake, but I think this is perfect for this video, because like I said, it's the first time making an edit on this particular machine, and, you know, mistakes are bound to happen, and this is a great learning point for all of us. Okay, so taping this back. It does not have to be perfect. In fact, I'm not really going to stick on the tape too hard, because I want it to be easy to take off later. Let me go get a scissor. Alright, so I cut a very small piece of tape. And I'm just going to put it like that. Barely put it on there. Hopefully, if I do everything right, that piece of tape only has to stay there once. And okay, I'm going to be really careful here. Alright, that piece of tape is now sandwiched in there, so let's go back to the beginning here. Kind of saw that coming. I'm going to splice back this point, or tape this point back, rather. Here you go. Once again, really small piece of tape. Just barely putting it on there. Hopefully I explained the mistake I made well, because I know this is kind of a peculiar edit. So I'm going to go erase every track besides track number 10 now. Okay, so I just erased all those tracks. Let's put this in edit mode here. Oh boy, I always forget to do that. So let's take apart this tape now. Careful not to ruin anything. Alright, crisis averted there. Alright, so now this is on there. I went a little too far. Alright, so there is that tape point. Let me take that off. Okay, so now section B is wrapped around this reel. Okay, so now I got the regular supply reel back on there. Just gonna make a splice here. Well, I'm sorry, just kind of tape. That's exactly what I didn't want to do. That's alright, I'm actually just gonna get rid of this whole section here. Another important thing to remember is not to flip the side of the tape, and make sure that everything is jiving the right way. Line them up, get a piece of tape. This time I'm gonna use a much more substantial piece of tape. So hopefully you can see that's much bigger. Doesn't have to be too big. My hands have tremors, so it makes this part a little difficult. See, that was no good there. I think I need to hire someone with steady hands. Oh boy. Alright. That was kind of ugly. I think I'm just getting nervous on camera. But it is sufficient. It just looks bad, but it is sufficient. So let's put this back. Alright. So now we have to go to the point in section A of the song where we're going to make our splice and insert section B. Alright, so listen closely to the part that I want to make the splice at. I am an idiot, and when I recorded this song, I didn't think it fully through and leave enough space to make this easy. So the point at which I need to splice at is a very thin margin. So I'm going to try to point it out. Hold on, let me back up a little bit. So there's a noise where I'm pressing play. Hold on, let me show you. I'm pressing play on this cassette recorder on the recording, and basically right before I hear that play sound, me pressing that play button, that's where I want to make the splice. So I'm going to try to find that now. It's probably hard to hear. Hold on. Hopefully you could hear that. Alright, so that means it's about right there. I want to cut it slightly before that. So that means I have to cut on this side. So I'm going to err a little bit here. I'm going to cut maybe like right there. Maybe like a half an inch before that. And that should be fine. Alright, a little razor blade action here. Nice and easy. Like I said, I'm a tad nervous here because I don't want to screw this up more than once. Because I'm a dumbass. Alright, let's get the section B now. Okay, so I don't know if you could see, but there's still that little arrow I drew on there, so I know which way everything's supposed to jive. Line those up. Looks pretty good. Let me try to get a close look at that. See that? It's perfect cut right there. See no silver behind it. It's kind of hard to show on camera, but it was a good splice. So let's tape it up. Alright, got everything lined up. Let me get a piece of tape. Let me just calm my tremors. Looks pretty good. So let me put this batch of bum tape somewhere. Alright. So now this is the end of section B. And we are going to splice it onto the second part of section A. And now, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. far so good. Alright, it worked. I don't really know if I like the final result, but what I wanted to do worked, so I'm happy. There was a second there where I got scared. I embarrassed myself in front of all you people, but hey, we learned together, okay? I'm actually going to do another demonstration of some tape splicing here on this Tascam 22-2. And the reason I want to show splicing on this machine is because this machine is lacking that same edit function that is on the Tascam MS-16, and that makes your life a whole lot harder. Without that edit function, you're not able to rock the tape and find a specific point on the tape. And with this machine, you kind of have to do some guessing on where exactly you want to do the splicing. Now, the splice I'm about to do, once again, just like the first splice I did, actually isn't too important exactly where I make the splice. What I'm actually going to do is I recorded a needle drop on a 45 record, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to splice the sound of that needle drop that's recorded on this piece of tape, and I'm going to splice it in front of the mixdown I just did of the previous song we were working on. Now, the two splice points are going to be pretty easy to figure out. The first splice point doesn't matter because it's the beginning of the song, so I'm going to cut that out when I rip it to my computer anyway. It's not really important. For the latter end of the splice, that is going to be the cut right before the mixdown comes in, also is not too important just because of the layout of the song and how the song starts. The song starts with like kind of feedback on the guitar, so if I cut a little bit of that feedback on guitar, I'm not worried about it. It's going to sound just fine. So once again, I just want to show on this machine how it can be done even if you don't have this edit function, and you could actually use this in your favor. So let me just play the needle drop section real quick. Now I'm going to find the latter end of the splice point first. I'm going to do that one because, like I said, the beginning of the song, it doesn't really matter where I do the splice point. So let me just take off this cover here so we can see what's going on. This is also a 3-head machine, and when we're listening off the reproduce head. So that is the one right here. Now I want to make this splice right before the song kicks in on this 45. So let's try to find that point. And there's a couple tricks up our sleeve that we could do here. One, we could change the speed to low, which is 7.5 inches per second. I normally run it at 15 inches per second. There's also this pause button that you could hit pretty quickly. And it stops more or less exactly when you press pause. So let's just say I wanted to stop it right there. I can make the splice exactly where this reproduce head is. Once again, I know I'm repeating myself. I'm just going to make this splice right before that song kicks in. I don't really care where it is. It's not going to matter in the end run. Alright, so right there, I'm going to make that splice. The way my room is set up, it is very difficult to do this with the camera in the way. So let me get this tape here. Alright, so I don't know how well you can see it. It's very dark in here, but I have a line marked where I'm going to make my splice. I'm going to put this right here. I actually find it a lot harder to do splices on this small tape compared to my 1-inch tape. Alright, so let's make the splice here. Alright, so I got the cut tape threaded back on. I'm going to find where I'm going to cut it. Alright, so do a little before that. Anywhere in there should be fine. I'm going to make a cut there. Alright, so now, right, this section of tape that's looped onto here is the section I want. This is the beginning, and the end is on the supply reel. Alright, so let's listen to the beginning here. And here for the guitar feedback part. Hopefully you could hear that. And as I said before, I know I'm repeating myself, I am just going to make a cut right when that guitar feedback starts feedbacking, and that'll be fine for my purposes. A little before that. Alright, I'm going to cut it about right there. Right where that tape meets the reproduce head. I'm going to mark it. Alright, enough. Let's get this tape where we want it. Let's tilt this camera down. Alright, so let's find that point. Probably hard to see on camera. It's right there. I'm going to do good old-fashioned 90-degree cut. A slanted cut might be better for this purpose, but it's alright. Alright, so now we need to put that cut section of the needle drop right here and tape it up. Okay, so here's the beginning. Put this here. Like I said, this is very hard to do with the camera there, but I want to show at least the one taping on camera, me taping it up. And it's rather difficult with this small tape. I know there's going to be people that are going to be freaking out about me putting stuff on the tape like that, but in this situation, it's the best I could do. Let's cut us off a piece of tape. Doesn't have to be big at all. Alright. That'll work. So let's unravel this now. I don't have the best setup to do this all on camera, so I apologize for the really bad angles here. But hopefully you get the idea of what I'm doing. Just unraveling this, getting the piece of the needle drop section. As I take up the slack on the take-up reel of the machine. Alright, there we go. So there is the end. Now, as I said, this splice is a lot more important. It's supposed to sound like the beginning of a really dirty 45. It's kind of an ode, my version of an ode to 60s garage rock. Alright, I think that'll work. It's an ode to 60s garage rock, because that's primarily the music I listen to. Okay, so let's give this a listen now. See what we got going on. Alright, moment of truth, folks. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Amen. That's all for today's demonstration, folks. I hope you learned something. I know I learned something. I'm so glad the end result was exactly what I wanted it to be. As I mentioned before, with these type of tape edits, precision is not as much as necessity as it is with a traditional splice edit where you're matching up instrumentation that has to be, in tempo. And in those situations, the editing function, like seen on the Tascam NS16, is essential to get that right. I think I'm going to do actually a quick demonstration of how that precise point is found when you're doing that traditional type of tape editing. So let's go over to the machine right now and show that. I'm going to play it through the song, and when the start of the bridge comes up, I'm going to stop the tape machine and assume that right when that beat number 1 comes down for that bridge, that will be the splice point. One, two, three, four. 1. Right on the downbeat on the 1. Now I'm going to solo the bass drum track. Okay, so I stopped it right where I believe the downbeat of the 1 is. We should be hearing the bass drum somewhere around here. And remember, we are monitoring off the reproduce head, which is this head. Hopefully you could hear that. Right there is where I would consider the downbeat of the bass drum. And I would mark that with the pencil here. I'd take the tape out. And I'd make my splice. I'm not going to actually make the splice today because I don't need to make that edit. In situations where you only have a machine like my Tascam 22-2 where you're unable to use an editing feature and there's no precision allowed, you have to get pretty creative with your splice points, and you can actually use this to your advantage. I recently finished a song for my upcoming album where I utilized this machine without any precision involved. The name of the song is Doped Up Dogs, and it's basically about dogs being prescribed anxiety medication, and it's a weird song, and the ending of that song ends in a breakdown with all the instrumentation just going crazy. And what I did is I spliced random sections at different lengths and frequencies on the breakdown section of that song, and basically spliced in these really weird distorted dog barking noises that I recorded from my Foley vinyl records. And in some instances I put the tape backwards. I did all weird things to make it really weird, make it really, it's almost like avant-garde. It's very abrupt, and that's the sound I was looking for. I was trying to go out for like a drugged out sound, really weird. And I'll play a quick excerpt of that now so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So yeah, that was a weird example, but there's plenty of endless possibilities of things you can do that are similar to that. And, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I hope you watch this video and think, what can I do? How could I be creative? How can I cut some tape? I mean, you could do this with cassette tapes if you wanted to. It's not as easy, obviously, but just go out there, have some fun, do some tape splicing, and most importantly, just think outside of the box. The only thing I will add is you have to avoid using regular Scotch tape that you're going to find in your cupboards. You need to use splicing tape, which is purposely meant for splicing together audio tape. If you use regular Scotch tape, it's going to ooze everywhere, it's going to make a mess, it's going to ruin your tape. You don't want to do that. So spend a little extra money and get the right splicing tape. Thank you everyone for watching. I can overstate how much I appreciate the comments that you guys leave me and also the music that you guys email me. It's always good stuff. I love talking to people all over the world that have similar interests to me. It's such an amazing thing. Please commenting. Please give me suggestions on what you would like to see. Please tell me I'm doing everything wrong. Please tell me not to use a handheld mic. All these things, just put them in the comments. I'll respond to them. And I will see you next time. Have a good one, and please record some music. And before I go, I'm actually going to play the whole song we were working on today in full. It's kind of a long song. It's around 5 minutes. I was going to make an extra video for it, but I'm not releasing this song yet, so I don't want to upload it to YouTube. So it's just going to be at the end of this video. So please enjoy it, and please give me your feedback.
It bit me in the neck.